Okay, yes. Hello, hello. Thank you, everybody. We are back. We are back for another episode of Brock Talk. This is the historic 15th episode of Brock Talk. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And hit the bell icon, all the good stuff that every person in the world tells you to do, even if you're not on YouTube. I hope everyone is having a nice day, a nice morning, a nice evening. Maybe you're working, maybe you're just relaxing. Whatever you're doing, just glad that you're here. Glad to be here. Just glad to talk just to talk. Just to Brock talk. You know what I'm saying, man? This is one corny intro. Anyway, today we're gonna talk about PlayStation and I guess Sony, whichever one, announcing that they aren't going to do physical media. Let's just get into it, or at least physical games, at least. This announcement came in July of this year, in July of 2026. I forgot to say, I also have some notes here to kind of help keep me on track, make sure things aren't as, all over the place as it usually is. But it says PlayStation announced the end of physical media. This will end in January of 2028. So we still have, like a year and a half? A little about that much. They said this was a natural direction and to align with consumer trends. And yeah, so initially, I feel like we all saw this coming. We kind of saw it coming. It's a bit shocking. It's a bit shocking that it's real, but still, the writing was on the wall. I feel like we could have guessed that this was going to happen. Now, I did a video a little while back on one of the earlier episodes of Brock Talk of me talking about physical media versus digital media, the pros and the cons, the X's and the O's, the Jimmys and the Joes, all the good stuff. And I was kind of like, yeah, I'm leaning towards physical media, or excuse me, I'm leaning towards digital media just because, I've had to move a lot in my life, so it's annoying having to move all this stuff, and also owning all these games. I'm not playing them every single day. Just I don't know. It's just more convenient. I guess it's a convenience thing. But now, I think that I recorded that episode about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, and a lot has changed, in my opinion. A lot has changed for me, that is. My opinions have changed a lot. First off, the first thing that comes to mind is I remember the game, I think Ubisoft shutting down The Crew, the racing, I think it's a racing game. I don't know much about it, but I remember this has happened maybe a year ago, or whenever it was. They shut down this game called The Crew. Let's see if my notes, I said notes and now I'm sitting here, I just have The Crew being shut down. So this caused a big uproar, and I was kind of I don't really know what this game is. Are that many people playing it? Whatever, if some small game got shut down, what's the big deal? Which is kind of how they trick you. That's how the ball gets rolling. It's oh, well, it doesn't matter that this little thing got shut down, but what if they decided they just didn't like this bigger game and they shut it down? And that's games, people are paying for. That's a game. I assume people paid for The Crew, and now they can just never play it again. This is even worse because they deleted the PlayStation 3 store. I believe the PS Vita store was also deleted, and I didn't even think about this. Again, that's how they get you. They don't want you to think about what all this implies. But people are buying movies through their PlayStation, and I even bought a movie through my Xbox. But it's then they just decided, well, we're not going to support this, so there it goes, snap of the fingers, just like that. There goes your movies, there goes your games. And it's okay, well, this is really shitty. Now, initially I was I don't want to buy games because, again, or I don't want to buy digital games because, we've said, am I really owning it? It only exists as long as this other entity exists. And I've always struggled with Xbox Game Pass. That's mostly because it feels I'm it could be taken away at any moment. And yeah, they usually give you this game is leaving soon, and games do stay on there for a long time. But I'm it still is this anxiety I can't get over of if I buy a game and I'm I don't really feel like playing this right now, I'll come back to it. But if I'm playing a game on Game Pass, I'm just anxious the whole time. Tomorrow this game could be gone, and so there's a little bit of anxiety with that. Although it's also if I'm not feeling that game, maybe it wasn't very good and I should just move on to the next one. So the annoying thing 2 with physical versus digital, I've noticed some crazy, I don't know if price discrepancies is quite the right term, but Silent Hill 2 on the Xbox store is like $70, like close to $70. And I was in Walmart the other day and I saw a physical copy of it for only $50. It's like, well, that's weird. And I remember a friend of mine telling me about how the newest Call of Duty or whatever the most recent Call of Duty at the time, the physical price was much cheaper than the digital price. And I was like, yeah, are they going to pull some stuff on us where like, because it's just a file sitting somewhere and it is decaying, but not really decaying. It's just like, the same over time. Are they just going to keep the prices really high? Which they do that. They do that on Steam, and they also do it on the Xbox store with like the Call of Duty games and the DLC. Like that stuff should be way cheaper, but they're like, nah, bro, we ain't gonna do it. I knew you ain't gonna do it anyway. And that's just like, it's really frustrating and annoying. Now it is nice that it's nice, but also bad because I end up spending more money than I should. Which is funny because it's a discount. They do sales all the time on Xbox and Steam and PlayStation. So that's nice that there's still sales often. But again, they could change that. They could just not do as many sales now. There's also rumors about, when is someone's account going to get deleted? Like if, like, so we'll take the original Xbox, for example, or the PlayStation 2, whatever. You buy those games, and as long as your PlayStation or your Xbox work, you have them until they go bad. You could not play for something for 10 years and come back to it, and as long as you have the right TV and everything, you can play it, all fine. But, like, are they going to decide that, if you haven't played a game, if you haven't been on your account for 2 years, or they're like, well, this account's dead, we better delete it and all the games. It's like, well, that's not very fun. I don't like that. And 2, like, now I still haven't bought, like, the last physical game I can think of that I bought. I bought Pac-Man World 2 on the PlayStation 2, and then they just brought that to I think there's like a remake or remaster of that, which is cool. I want to check that out. Here's an important one. I bought Metal Gear Solid 4 on the PlayStation 3, and I bought it because up until recently, the only way you could play it was on the PlayStation 3. And so now they've updated it, and they're releasing the collection that has Metal Gear Solid 5 or 4, excuse me. But there was a length of time where you still needed these consoles. I still have there's a few Xbox games, a very select few Xbox games, and even some 360 games that have not been ported to like the modern store. So you still need the 360 and even the original Xbox to play them. Like I think a lot about Smash Brothers Melee, Super Smash Brothers Melee, and how it's never been remastered or properly brought back. People have, I think what's the word I'm looking for here? They ported it. There's a term I can't think of right now, but they've made it playable, but it's never been updated. And I actually think that's really cool. How, like, it's been preserved through all this time. And, fighting games and multiplayer games come out, and, if there's a problem, the devs can fix it, or if there's something the devs don't like, they'll change it. And it's kind of, I just think it's kind of cool that, like, this is Melee, this is how it was made, and it was made well, I think, and it hasn't changed, and I think that's very fun. And that's kind of a thing missing, getting slightly off topic, of, like, games nowadays. It just feels like we're not just taking what is given to us. Like, immediately people are like, this needs to be changed, this needs to be changed. Like, I don't know, I think that sometimes that was part of the fun and the charm of, not every game, I'm certainly, in hindsight, there's some things that I can't think of any off the top of my head, but would have been better if there was an update. But now it's just nice. Like, it's just nice that these games are in that form, and that is how they're made, and they can't be altered and changed. Part of the reason I bring that up is the Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake, and how apparently, like, so it seems pretty good. The graphics seem pretty good. It's getting good reviews, but like, apparently Ubisoft cut some content from the original Assassin's Creed Black Flag and added new stuff. And it's just like, that's annoying too, because it's like, dude, why would you cut content? Like, it's a remaster. I think it's cool that they added stuff. That puts a little bit even more incentive to play. But then it's like, what about this other stuff? It feels like it could be this weird revisionist 1984 history kind of thing of like, oh no, like what if they deleted the original Assassin's Creed Black Flag? and then all we had was this new version, and it's like, oh no, the game was always like this. This other stuff never existed. It's like that's a weird thought to have. Like maybe not now, but I feel like I could see that in the future, or even like Silent Hill 1. You know that I believe that's a PlayStation 1 game that has never been remade or brought back properly, at least. They might have also announced they're bringing that one back, but it's like it's just we're in a weird spot where they can change anything they want, and they can take away anything they want, and I don't like that. Now, to be totally fair, with things like Assassin's Creed, I think we're going to be okay, just because I've been to many gaming thrift stores, and let me tell you what, there's no shortage of Assassin's Creed games, Madden games, or Call of Duty games. So I think if some kind of controversy were to happen with that, I believe there's plenty of copies in your local thrift store or landfill if you want to go that far. Now, I got the Xbox Series X, which has the disc tray, but I got it more because there's more storage. I don't know if I own one game. I think my mom bought me one physical copy. Yeah, it was Metro Exodus. I think a version of it on the Series X. But that's the only game I own physically for the Xbox. Sorry, there's another, like the last video, there's like a loud motorcycle going by. There's like this huge truck going by right now. It might even be thunder. It's a bit of a rainy day here. It's just like, if we can transition a little bit to gaming as a whole, am I done with gaming? Or at least, like, I'm still going to be playing games, but it's kind of like, we don't just put games into the console and play them. They have to download, and then if you don't have internet, you can't play these games, which is frustrating. I mean, that happened to me the other day. Something was going wrong with the Xbox store, or not just the store, but the connection in general. I couldn't download the game I wanted to play. I couldn't even play the games I already had installed, which is also really annoying. That doesn't make any sense. But I guess, again, it has to, I don't know what it has to do. I'm not an expert on this, but it's just really frustrating. And it's kind of like, with things getting more expensive, and like everything kind of just feels like an ad. Like somebody was telling me about how they played the new 007 game, which I think looks really good, but there's like an install screen, and then there's like a QR code asking you, hey, do you want to upgrade to this deluxe edition? And it's kind of like, okay, like this is annoying. It's very in our face. I still think a lot of good games are coming out nowadays, but it's kind of getting to a point of like, maybe I still have a ton of games I need to catch up on, and some older things I can go back to. So maybe I'll just stick with those, because right now, like, it's just trending in a direction I don't really like. I also want to say that I'm very thankful and very privileged to have enjoyed both Xbox and PlayStation. I never had a PlayStation 1, but I had the PlayStation 2, a 3, a 4. I haven't gotten the 5, but I also had the original Xbox 360. Eventually got a 1, but very late, and now I have the Series X. And I just feel like this might start an argument, but whatever. Let's have some fun, I guess, or get things riled up. I feel like multiple times Xbox has had a chance to get ahead of PlayStation, and they just fail every single time. I think the first part comes from like names, like PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and eventually the 6, if that, I assume that's going to get announced. Like the Xbox, so you have the original Xbox, then the 360, then the 1, then they made the 1S, and now there's the Series X and Series S, and I don't know if they made another one, but it's like, dude, who is naming these consoles? Like, what, like, this is not helpful. And also, too, like, from my understanding, the PlayStation 3 was a mess. Just from, like, to this day, like I said about Metal Gear Solid 4, like, they have had such a hard time bringing some of those games to PS4 and PS5, just because the PS3 was so complicated. Again, I don't know the details. Like God of War, I was like, oh, they brought God of War to PS4. They brought God of War 3 to PS4. So that is like, whereas the Xbox, like, I remember recently they announced that Black Ops 1 and 2 were coming to PS5. And I was like, what are you talking about? Hasn't it always been like that? But it's like, oh no, like, they probably had a hard time porting 1 and 2 to PS4. Whereas Xbox, that's just been like, we've just been doing that for years. So it's just like, I think PlayStation has definitely had more like they kept up with more iconic characters. like or maybe more story games like they had The Last of Us. I was just like, man, 360, you know, when I in like the 360 days, it was like the three biggest games were like Halo, Gears of War, and Call of Duty. And you know, there's some other ones mixed in there, but I was like, well, two of those are 360 exclusives. But I don't know, I think I haven't quite got down. Again, I think it's like the naming thing, and also just like I remember this now. This this has not aged well, but I remember when the Xbox One was coming out, there was all these outrageous, like, there was all these crazy things. I don't know what was true and what ended up not being true, but I remember one of the big ones was that, like, your games will be coded to your Xbox and you can't give them to your friends or whoever if you want to share them. So PlayStation made that famous video of, like, how do you share games on the PlayStation 4? And, like, the one representative had a game in a case and he just handed it to another guy. But now that aged poorly because now they're talking about, you know, digital games only, and you know you can't, like, how are you going to share a digital game? It's going to be, I bet, like, I literally just thought of this, like, they're going to do some BS, or it's going to be like Netflix or something, I bet. Like, somehow, like, let's say someone wants to sell their PS6 or whatever the newest console is. They sell it to their friend or they sell it on wherever, and then it's like you boot it up and it goes, "Is this your home location? You're at your gaming console's in a different location. Is this, verify your location?" And then they're going to be like, "You can't play this because you're not at home." Like, dude, they're gonna do something annoying like that. As far as Steam goes, I feel like Steam is a little different. It's been nice for indie developers to get their games on Steam. That's something, like, I haven't, a physical PC game. I don't know the last time I bought that, or like even, I don't know. Like, I couldn't tell you the first thing about that. I know, as a fun side note, I know the game League of Legends apparently had a physical copy early, really, really early. A friend of mine apparently still has that physical copy. So that's really cool. But like, now we're like, people are being charged like $100. We're getting close to like $100 per game just to get the game. Like, what happened to like the fun? Not that I ever got these, because I still think it was an outrageous amount to pay. But it was like, you know, what was it? The Fallout 4 had a um Fallout 4 had an edition that you could pay for, and you'd get like a Pip-Boy and like a fake mini nuke and all this stuff. Like, and that's fun. Like, it's just like, I might have said this. I don't know why I changed this accent as a bad accent. Might have to cut that out. I'm not gonna, just to make people mad. But I might have said this in my previous physical media versus digital media video, which hopefully I didn't repeat anything too much from that. But it is like, people, they keep their favorite book and their favorite comic book, or their favorite toy or whatever, and now it's like, what are kids taking with them from to the future? Like, are like, they're gonna have to look stuff up on YouTube if YouTube exists, or if, you know, if these websites get deleted, are they going to be able to say this is my childhood, you know, without physical things? And then there's the debate, I've kind of brought this up before, of like, but do we have to consume this much stuff? Do I need this many video games? All of this will eventually end up in a landfill, so that's kind of depressing. So maybe we could find a middle ground of like, you know, we don't need everything, but like, are the videos online, or with AI, are the videos online going to change about how things looked when we were younger? We're kind of getting off track, but I remember, speaking of physical media, there's something I wanted to show for this podcast, which I forgot to get, so I will be right back with that. Hold on.
6.5 hours later.
Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. I say sorry for, you know, for me it was a few minutes, for you guys it was a little edit. So I have with me here a, there's the reflection, the steelbook copy of Doom 3 on the original Xbox. And I didn't know this, but they put Doom 3 on the 360 and updated it since, for the Doom 3 BFG edition, which is apparently significantly different from this steelbook case. Well, from the original game. It doesn't have to be the steelbook. But as a side note, I love Doom 3. I don't think it's the best Doom game, but I still have a place in my heart for it. But I found this again at like a gaming, you know, thrift store, and I was like, this is really cool. This is sick. And I want to show it off quickly. I'm going to have to put the mic down. Hold on. Okay. Hopefully it isn't too hard to hear me. But like, so here's the case. Here's the back of it. Pretty cool design, and it's got this pretty sick, like, it's a slip case, dude. Like, this is a separate part, brother. Now that's cool, dude. But like, here's the case. Like, I could imagine, like, I remember my friend and sometimes you can still find this, but this is even more rare. There's like a Halo 2 steelbook case. That was so cool. I remember going to my cousin's house and they had it, and I was like, this is the best game ever. But we're gonna open it up. The disc the disc is in my Xbox. I forgot to take it out. But I just think this is really cool, and it's too bad that people don't get to experience things like this. Like even the book. Like we open the book and there's like, oops, this is the credits. That's boring, dude. But we get all this information about the weapons and the emails and like funny tips from like the developers. And then there's even, let's see if we can mimic this. So like here, this probably will not pop up on the, like, I remember I was holding the book like this. See my thumb there? And I was okay, I'm gonna go to the next page. And I lifted my thumb up. Oh. There's blood. There's blood. They actually put that in the book. Like that's where you would typically hold your thumb. So there's this cool reveal of like, I move my thumb, I'm like, whoa, it's a bloody thumbprint. Like this is cool. And there's even like, you know, even little details of like an actual thumbprint and fingerprint. So that's really cool. And I don't know, I just wanted to show that off. Yeah, I just wanted to show that off quickly as just like an example of really cool physical media, things that people are kind of missing out on. And yeah, it's just too bad like people won't get to see something like that. And also just too like we're society. I don't know if society is the right word. I want to blame it more on just like these corporations, these evil people. Like they take art for granted and how cool the artwork is in that book and on the case, and that isn't being represented as well now. Now, like, you know, there's going to be no disc art. There's going to be no art in the booklet. You know, kids aren't going to have fun reading the back of the game anymore. That was fun. This one. Oh, and this also comes with like interviews and like behind the scenes stuff. It's like, man, we're kind of like losing all that, which is too bad. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that. We're getting close to the end of this. So well, a final note I just thought of this. I just remembered this, thankfully. I think I talked about this in the previous digital versus physical media conversation, but I do not buy digital books. I have to have a physical book. I just don't like reading on the screen. And I've thought about more recently getting a few digital ones just because my collection is getting, you know, very high like before, and maybe I can get a Kindle and get used to it or something. But I just saw this thing about how AI, they're like destroying like thousands upon thousands of books so AI can scan them and have it in their database, and I'm just like, oh my god, like dystopian future, man. I guess it's the dystopian present, man. So a part of me, and maybe this is a bit self-righteous or full of myself, I don't know, but there's a bunch of books I have. I mean, I have a stack of books over here I wanted to get rid of and some in my room, but I'm like, and it would take a while. I mean, they'd probably go to like Goodwill or other places, and it would take a minute, but like, I want to hold on to any bit of knowledge and don't let it, you know, I don't want to get absorbed into this big machine that, you know, can be altered. You know, like we said with Assassin's Creed Black Flag, like they added new missions, but got rid of the old ones. Or got rid of some old ones. And that's just like, it's a little thing, but could that be the first step towards, you know, a ton of changing for a lot of these games and you know, just media as we know. Well, so yeah, everybody, that's gonna wrap it up. I did not think I was gonna be able to fill as much time as I did with that. Again, like always, I hope it made sense. I hope you enjoyed listening. Let me know if you have any thoughts on this. I probably, through editing, sometimes I find myself like, I'm editing something and I start talking about something and it reminds me of something else. So I start talking about that and forget the other thing. So there's probably a little bit of that in this video. But hey, thanks everybody for watching. I'm trying to, getting into this little rhythm is nice. I want to push myself to get a little bit more out there, video and content wise. I have all these ideas, but if I don't act on them, they'll be ideas forever. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. Thank you for everybody for watching. Please have a, you know, good rest of your day, night. Hope you sleep well, or hopefully you wake up well. And yeah, we will see you guys in the next episode of Brock Talk. Thank you guys. Have a good one. Peace.